The Baltimore Orioles are finally calling up Jackson Holliday. I know this has been the talk of YouTube and on the MLB news, and if you've been following this story, maybe you're just trying to get another perspective. If this is the first time you're hearing about it, we're going to dive a bit deep into this. I'm going to try and keep it quick because I want to get it out before he does his first MLB start. And unfortunately, it's not going to be at Camden Yards. It's going to be in Boston at Fenway, which I still think is a pretty honorable place to start your first game in the MLB. Just such a historic building. But you know what? Let's get into it. No intro. Welcome everybody back to the Touching Bases podcast. If you are new here, please sit back and relax and enjoy. If you're returning and you haven't subscribed, like 93% of you at this point, consider subscribing. I would appreciate it. We just passed 400. I would appreciate your support, and you guys are awesome for doing that. So getting into the Baltimore Orioles, I made a couple videos on this talking about Jackson Holliday basically being sent down to AAA, which came across as a big surprise for most fans and most insiders, and they had valid reason to do it, but everybody, including myself partially, I like to kind of keep myself open to the idea that maybe this organization is not doing what a lot of other kind of, I would say, petty organizations do, where it's contract manipulation. Now, if you're not familiar with this, and I'm sure you've heard this 100 times if you are on this topic, so basically what they could have done is started Jackson Holliday after the 17th game of the season. They would have had him for an extra year. Now, a lot of teams do this, especially with a number one prospect such as Jackson Holliday. They've done it in the past. Looking at originally, there really was nowhere to put him. I mean, Jordan Westburg was looking to be one of the best options for second base, which was kind of the other alternative for Jackson Holliday, and he was killing it in spring training along with Jackson Holliday, but Jordan Westburg had a little bit more time up and has an opportunity to prove himself up to this point. Now, granted, I was on the high horse of, hey, why don't you put him in at third, because Urias wasn't exactly looking too hot and looking too great. And even since I made that video, I still stand by that. Ramon Urias over at third base is batting .091 with an OBP of 130 and a slugging percentage of .091. His WRC plus is a -34 and a WAR of -0.04. Obviously, Urias is struggling at the plate. He's not really doing well. Now, if you guys have been following the Orioles, he's been definitely contributing more than Urias. Just a couple games ago, hit a walk-off home run. He's still not performing to be excellent at second base. Defensively, he's been good, but he has that one home run out of 34 plate appearances. He's batting a 194, an OBP of 242, and a slugging percentage of 355. Granted, this is way better than Urias, and his WRC plus is 74 with a 0 WAR, but I'm sure the Orioles, with such a star-studded and young team, they would be expecting more out of these players. It was about time for them to call up, and now we can officially rule out contract manipulation, which was the biggest concern, because they are going to be bringing him up in today's game against Boston, and he's going to be playing in Fenway. According to Fangraphs, he's going to be slotted in the 9th hole at second base, replacing Westburg. It looks like that Jordan Westburg will probably move over to third base. He does play third as well as second, and so moving him over will keep him in that lineup and keep his bat active while Jackson Holliday comes up today and plays at second base where he feels comfortable. Nothing's really changed. He's at least able to continue where he left off in AAA. Another name that's been super hot lately, especially in yesterday's game, was Colton Cowser. Just probably the elite star of the game yesterday, helping out Corbin Burns get that win. He'll probably be batting in the number 7 position, while you have Westburg at 8 and then Jackson Holliday at 9. That would be my guess. And that alone is a deadly 7, 8, 9 in your lineup, which means your 1 through 6 is going to be awesome. I can't emphasize how good this team is, even with the record as it stands. Down in AAA, he's played in 10 different games with 56 plate appearances. He's hit 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. His walk rate is at 21%. His K rate's only 14%. That's significantly down from the 33% that he was striking out in spring training, which I think was a big concern, along with his ability with hitting left-handers. But in AAA, he's been smacking left-handers. He's been making contact and proving that left-handers are not a problem for him. Right now, his average is a 333, which is pretty much on par and exactly what he was doing in spring training. He has a 482 OBP and a 595 slugging percentage. His WRC plus in AAA up to this point is 180. So why not sooner? Yeah, I think they were just working out the quirks. I mean, honestly, it was the left-handed pitching. It was the fact there was no place on the roster for him to go because we had so much high hope for Urias and Westburg. And honestly, Westburg, I had higher hopes more than anything. And Urias, from what I predicted, was not going to perform as well. But they wanted to see him at second base because they want to platoon him in that center infield with Gunnar Henderson. Now, keep in mind, this is a very, very good division. It was initially the AL West. That was the idea. You had the Houston Astros, you had the Texas Rangers, who just won the World Series. The Angels have always been kind of like that number 3 spot that always fight for it, but of course they haven't made the playoffs in a while. And then the Mariners are always just, you never know where they're going to end up. 22, they were insanely good. 23, they were kind of teasing everybody. And so far this year, they can't seem to find a win. Their bats are so cold you could probably throw ice cubes and they'll stay frozen. Looking over at the AL East, you have the Yankees who are 10-2, the Red Sox that are 7-4. Nobody expected that, but their pitching is super hot. Then you have the Orioles at 6-4, and that's third place, and that in most divisions so far would be number 1. So this division is extremely tough to beat. Not to mention the Yankees are doing this without their ace, Garrett Cole. Their bats are hot, and you need more bats and more runs scored in order to keep up with these teams. Just below them are the Rays and the Blue Jays, and both of them are tied for the last place in a division with 6-6. Now, I can imagine the Blue Jays are probably going to increase their wins and probably take over that number 4 spot just because of how much they're walking all over the Mariners, and I believe this is going to be the final game of the series. So far, they're looking for a sweep. With that said, the Orioles are in the chase with the Red Sox, and being in Fenway to start this series opener, Red Sox are 7-4. If the Orioles win today, that will put them 1 game ahead of the Red Sox, as right now they're 3 games behind the Yankees, and the Red Sox are 2.5 games behind the Yankees. The Red Sox, if they lose today, will go to 7-5, and the Orioles will go 7-4. Adding this extra bat really could help them. Now, granted, Jackson Holliday he's a 20-year-old kid who is contact. He has pop, he has power to the bat, he can hit it over the wall, but he is mostly a line drive hitter that's going to get on base. He's going to hit doubles. He's going to knock in runs when they're on base, but don't expect him to be like a Yordi Alvarez or a Manny Ramirez or any of these big names that you know for home runs. But he is very much similar to Jackson Chourio as far as quick, defensively sound, and gets on base. And that is kind of the main structure, kind of like a Billy Bean thought if you guys watch Moneyball. Also, by the way, not very accurate. You should probably read the book. Style of getting new prospects into the game, and Jackson's finally going to get his first start in the MLB playing at Fenway, which I hope is monumental for the Orioles. Again, like I said, I joined this bandwagon. I'm a fan of the team. I moved one of my Lauren Taylor illustrations with Gunnar Henderson. I bought a lot of these. I even have Adley Rutschman. There's a signed Rutschman jersey, and I have a Cal Ripken Jr. jersey, but that's actually going to be sent out here soon to be framed. So I'm on board with the Orioles. I'm rooting for them. Now, I'm happy to say that this is not contract manipulation. Jackson Holliday is a Boris client, which I think most people were going to go with contract manipulation because Boris is such a pain in the ass for these teams as far as extending and trying to get a good deal because he pushes so hard. But I think after this offseason, they might have come to the conclusion that the Boris strategy doesn't work anymore, and the teams now have control versus Boris himself, who was able to get all these big name clients, huge contracts, and seeing how Snell fell apart. Montgomery, him going over to the Diamondbacks, I think was huge. It was an awesome move by the Diamondbacks themselves, and I think it was a good place for Jordan Montgomery to go to. But Matt Chapman and all these other guys that could have gotten much longer deals and all these initial demands of what they wanted, and they didn't come anywhere close to it. I think it maybe softened up the market to where they see Jackson being able to play well at second. He's hitting left-handers. His batting average is super high. He has proven himself. Now we can bring him up. I'm happy to see him up in the bigs. I don't have much more to put in on this, but besides just sit and wait and let's see this game, if you are available today, tune in to that Red Sox and Orioles game. This will be a huge day. If Fangraphs is accurate, he'll be batting number 9, and hopefully the Orioles will come with a win and take over that second seed spot. If you're a Red Sox fan, it's just for today. I want to see his first major league debut, give him a win and give him some satisfaction to finally make into the bigs. You guys can sacrifice that. Your team's fine. Your team's much better than predicted. This is a fun day for Jackson Holliday, and I cannot wait to watch this. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this. I'll see you guys on the next one. Like, share, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. Definitely like the video if you made it this far. I think I earned it, and we will see you on the next one. Later.